Is your local Hooters girl that different from one of the most significant political figures in recent history? Today, we are going into the new year with a bang. We are talking all about legacy. From Hollywood to the lively Baldoni debacle of it all. And yes, from Hooters to Trump, here on Talk to Me Taylor, baby.
Deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them, okay? They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the new year. First things first, it's about time that I come out of the closet. I know, this is a moment. I'm coming out of the closet in that I have vowed from here on out, 2025 is going to be the year of truly giving no fucks.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
You may think that I already say what I think and really go there. You ain't seen nothing yet. Just call me Sybil. Like, there are more of me. Okay, there is more of me. And the real Taylor, what I really think, truly uncensored about every taboo, this, that, the other thing, just call me a genie out of the bottle, baby. I am coming out. It is time. No more holding back. No more censoring. We have nothing to lose. And I don't give a flying fuck. It's about time, isn't it? So with that said, let's have at it. I'm going to start with a little personal story that actually dovetails so nicely into today's episode, really, about our own concept of power and legacy and what we hope to leave behind. So your girl here, all 5'1" of her, okay, sans makeup, looking like a frumpy dumpster hamster, okay, was scrambling in the shitstorm, otherwise known as Fort Lauderdale Airport, okay, the weekend after New Year's. And it was, really, just call me Scrooge, because it was a Christmas miracle that I had pulled off like you have never seen, okay? I sort of chose my own fate in deciding to travel with the one Spirit Airlines, but I get there and I was cutting it real close. Okay, I'm talking like 45 minutes prior to departure. And to make a long story short, let's just say I show up and Spirit is literally looking like the Woodstock mosh pit, but nobody is on acid. They are all miserable and hung up like you had never seen. Okay, I'm talking literally hundreds of people like sardines, elbow to elbow in lines. There was no way I was going to make this flight, and I had to stay online to check my bag. But I had it in my head. I was like, I'm going to be on this plane. Like I merely and simply would not see any other option, okay? So I got through not one, but 4 Spirit employees cock blocking in their at their posts in their uniforms, screaming at each other, like pulling earrings, wigs, tables, ratchet, the whole thing, screaming to get in line. I managed to get through a bunch of them to get to the front of the line of the check-in baggage, okay, the bag drop. So literally they are calling me out. They were like, do not service this woman. Do not, like, pointing me out. They're all like, yup, got it. Like, it was literally a whole thing. But I wasn't caring about it. I was just very sort of matter of fact. And I was just like staying in my lane, literally infiltrating that lane. I was like, this is what's going to happen. So sure enough, this man with a badge and a gun comes over to personally escort me out of the line. And I reasoned with him. He was like, they do not want to serve you. Like, you have to wait in line like everybody else. And I was like, Mr. Rossi, that was his name tag. And I wasn't shouting. I wasn't screaming. I just said, look, I'm not entitled. I don't think I'm above everybody else. I'm not a Karen. He started laughing. I said, look, I'm traveling alone. You know, I'm shaking right now. I'm not going to make this flight. I told him something personal that I was on the heels of that I had been dealing with. And basically, like, do the right thing. You know, it's not hard. It's just me. Like, do it. And sure enough, bitch, it worked. He was like, really, he went from pointing to his gun. Like, okay, bad boys for life. Like, what is this?
Get out the way. If I see you on the highway, get the fuck out of my way.
Hey, Mike!
Like, pointing at his gun, trying to assert his power, to literally, after I talked to him, he brought me up to the line and literally said to me, he's like, I feel like I'm making a fool out of myself right now. But he said to the woman, like, take care of her and check her in. And like, he looks at me, he's like, don't let it happen again, you know? Like, Miss Trunchbull could literally never. And I thought in that moment, that right there, like, again, little 5'1" of me, you know, in my PJs. This isn't even a tits out, braid out moment, okay? There were no tits to be had. Literally, I looked like a plow truck driver. But what power really can be. Think about it. He was the one with the power. He even pointed to his gun and his badge. And he could literally have had me out like dust in 5 seconds if he wanted to. But that was merely power that was bestowed upon him. It's a gun and a badge. Without it, then what? You know, I had merely I was defensive, defenseless. All I had was what was up here, right? And it really gets you thinking of like what you're capable of. And that power, you know, if it is something that is merely bestowed upon you, it ultimately, there are holes poked in it. It crumbles versus knowing that you have it inside. To let it come out in your Sheen Skims knockoffs at 6 a.m. at Fort Lauderdale Airport. And that is my TED Talk for the day. But it goes perfectly into the story I saw about the Hooters girl who gave no fucks getting out of a DUI. Okay, it's sort of similar, but sort of not. But in all seriousness, I actually was really proud of that and what I was able to pull off. But really, guys, like dig deep, people, and pull that power of the pee and the puss and whatever you want it to be, that you may have in there that you don't even know, or that's somebody who has the facade of it, actually really when it's all stripped away doesn't, right? And how you're able to flip that imbalance of power. Blake Lively. Okay, my bad. So the Hooters girl. Okay, so there was a story of this Hooters girl who got pulled over for a DUI, and it had me in stitches because this bitch, like, you talk about legacy, you talk about power. She was shameless. I don't know if this girl's gonna have a legacy post 5 minutes of this TMZ story. All I know is that this was iconic because similarly, she was like about it. She was on brand. She was trying to like flirt her way out of the ticket and the like arrest. I don't even know what they did with her. And it was iconic.
I am under the influence, but I did not drive. Swear to God.
But you were driving.
I was not.
She's like, yeah, daddy, the cops are cracking up. She's like, they're like bossing her around. And she's like, how can I resist? Like in that uniform like that? Like, let's just go.
Okay, do you want to try this first exercise for me?
I will do anything for you, daddy. We're gonna make out here.
No, we're not.
I can't keep my hands off him. Sorry.
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to.
Iconic. And like anybody who's giving this shit, like, you need to do an introspective moment because this is what I'm talking about. Like, no fucks, no shame. And again, similarly with me in the airport, she wasn't being a dick. She wasn't being entitled. She wasn't being a Karen. She was just working with what she had with pulling no stops. Okay. Genius. Flaw free. Loved the execution. I don't know if it worked out for her, but I know that she was about something in that moment. She was about something. She believed in it. And she ride or died with her DUI in that moment of trying to make out and flirt her way out of a ticket with these cops. And it's interesting because I feel like that's kind of a theme with all of these stories is when you're not fully about something, it ultimately falls apart and it ultimately crumbles, right? So what encapsulates that more but Hollywood? And we all know why nobody could rub two brain cells together and figure out a reason that we still care about these people. Like, the limit does not exist of why we do not care anymore. Like, maybe that was the silver lining of COVID, was like the demise of the elite and seeing right through them, and they just carry no weight anymore, right? But the Golden Globes were last night. I'm shooting this on Monday. And I thought, wow, Hollywood's legacy before it became the shitstorm it is now was the untouchable, the allure, the fantasy, the extravagant, the lifestyles of the rich and the famous. And now we're literally like, move it or lose it. Like, we have things like Justin Trudeau resigning. Okay, not Thoreau, not to be confused. Hence my aforementioned point of people not giving a fuck about Hollywood. But we got bigger fish to fry here. And maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was a perfect storm, social media, them crying all the time, them lying about their liposuction. Like, it was a whole perfect concoction recipe, Guy Fieri style Flavor Town of shit that went down. But that entire legacy has completely tarnished of what Hollywood is. And I don't know that it'll ever bounce back. And I really, taking a step back, I said this on my Instagram, but Hollywood has literally become akin to porn. Sorry, where is the lie? We're so enthralled by, today is January 6th. I know this comes out the 8th, but it is Insurrection Day. Congress just officially established Trump as, to be sworn in as the next president. Like, there's Ukraine, there's Putin, there's Xi Jinping, like there's all kinds of shit going on, right? So when I saw all of the fun memes and little clips and videos from the Globes, it felt like porn. It's like that little hit. It's that little escape. It's that little like caricature, instant gratification, and then it's vapor. And then it disappears. Like, you bust one out and then you're moving on with your day. That's kind of how it felt. I'm here scrolling Globes, Nikki Glaser rose, haha. And then literally, okay, forgot about the world for 2 seconds. And now we're back to regularly scheduled programming. And it's sad. I always advocate for artists and actors and performers and singers to be regarded as they should, as people who make this art that inspires and moves us and pushes the ball forward and allows us to evolve. But at the same time, they've made such jokes of themselves in this regard, like selling out and being fake and all these, again, which is why your legacy will be doomed to fail. It's like, be about something. That now like I said, we look at them as almost stick figure nothingness fluff, like cartoon, like characters, and get off and move on. So I don't know. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see. And maybe it was just, a moment in time, and it's reiterated. You had the glory and the glamour of like the Marilyn Monroe era, then you had the blockbuster popcorn 80s, even in the 2000s, like, let's not lie, the tabloidy, the Lindsay Lohans, Paris Hiltons of it all, where it ran a little rampant, it got little girls gone wild on us, and now we're here. So I don't know what the next iteration will be. And I hope it comes back in a way, because it is a great means of escape, but to the point where they're knocked down to literally being porn star. And hey, I got nothing wrong with porn. And also, Blake Lively, you're fucking lying about never watching porn before. Like, get real, girl. We all know this. Like, let me subpoena your browser. I will subpoena your browser right now. Like, lies, okay? So with that said, like, lies, Liza Minnelli, amongst other things. But that said, I got nothing against porn. I partake. I'm a human being with a pulse. I'm just saying, it's like, they've now, in my opinion, like celebrities, Hollywood, all of it has basically take a pause there, to that level. Okay. So speaking of legacy, guys, we're at the 13-minute mark here, so it's perfect. Lucky 13. Who do we have? The battle of the sexes, the battle of the deranged, the battle of powerhouses and people trying to maintain their legacy, but Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Okay, this whole thing has consumed my entire personality. And not to sound contradictory to my whole thing of who gives a fuck about celebs, I think this whole thing is so fascinating because it's a touchstone on so many huge issues beyond celebrity in our culture. We're talking Me Too. We're talking PR. We're talking internet smears. We're talking, the court of public opinion, in the digital world. Like, there are just so many things here at play. Why I find this so fascinating. But, so I have so many thoughts, and I'm not going to do a deep dive right now into this. P.S. though, guys, you would not believe what I did over break. I have DMs with Justin Baldoni that date back like to 2018, okay, that basically support why I've said about this from the beginning. Like, having Justin Baldoni's back, just getting a sense that something didn't add up, something wasn't making sense. Like, even though we didn't know the whole story, I was like, I've interacted with and met this guy too many times. Like, something's just not adding up. Okay. And I have the goddamn receipts. Just call me CVS, because they are scrolling and they are rolling. Okay. And maybe one day soon they will roll on the show. But just so you know. And I have to say, I really feel for him because, you know, this is a guy who, like I said, has always really had these philanthropic endeavors and projects. And to me, it would seem a little extra to go this hard to, quote, cover your tracks like a Harvey Weinstein and seem like you're a good guy. Like, this is like a lot of effort, okay, to the things he's put in. So that's why I was like, okay, but he's this like sexual predator. Like, it's not, the math ain't mathing. So he has this small studio and, you know, acquires the rights to this huge, like, best-selling franchise novel, the whole thing. And as word has it, you know, it's just a whole mess. Blake Lively comes in, and I think, this is where it comes to legacy, right? Like, I think she is using her powerful Marvel husband, her clout, her Taylor Swift situationship, whatever, the whole thing, to rim this guy out and ream him out for everything he's worth, to, I think, primarily to get the rights of this book. Like, is it great? Is it enough? Is it never? Like, I don't even know at this point, but it's just like, right, she filed a claim against him civilly in California. He sued the New York Times hit piece on him and is suing her. Now she's suing, like, it's just a whole mess, right? But he's coming with receipts. And this is what I have to say about legacy. I think Blake Lively, I'm going to put it on record now. And again, if I'm wrong, I will stand corrected. I've said that from the beginning. I think this bitch is literally going to ruin her entire career over this. Why? I don't know. But like, you have to literally have your everything buttoned so tight. Like, you are the nutty fucking professor. Okay. You have to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And to go after him in this way, when everything would come out ultimately, like, you have to be so sure. And again, like, so let's say the sexual harassment stuff, right? Unless there is something so obvious and so egregious, like, what are you doing? And a perfect example of that is the trailer back and forth. She alleged in her first filing of claims, by the way, which, unbeknownst to some of you, the first action she took, which set this whole thing off, wasn't an actual lawsuit. And they strategically did it right before the holidays so the courts would be closed. So everybody could read the whole thing and sway our opinion in like a week or so would go by before Baldoni's team could do anything when the courts reopened, right? So like, that's interesting. So basically it was more of like a figurative like F you than actual action. It was more just like making a point, like Taylor Swift suing for $1, right? But she alleged that he and the Wayfarer, his studios, like the head of it and the producer would like barge into her trailer while she was nursing and topless, and like they wouldn't turn around when she asked them. Meanwhile, his actual texts and receipts show that he's like, Blake, this just in, do you copy? I have an intimacy coordinator. I love her. I think you'll love her. And Blake Lively's literally like rolls out the red carpet. She's like, I am in my trailer nursing. Come on in. So basically what we're seeing, and again, there could be more evidence that is coming our way if Harriet the Spy joins this case, okay? But just from that alone, how are more people not losing their shit that Blake Lively is essentially weaponizing and lying about Me Too stuff? Like, people should be outraged. If this is true, it's pathetic and it's also insulting. And the fact that you can have such like power, again, unless it was so bulletproof that you think you have such power that you can just throw these serious claims that it's attached to such a bigger thing like Me Too and no repercussions to you. Like, of course, now Me Too, because of stuff like this and the Amber Heard of it all, has become a complete mockery. But how ignorant, right? And again, how insulting. So time will tell, but that's another thing, right? It's like, what are we willing to do for legacy and why? And will one or the others be tarnished over this? You know, like even like as soon as her first thing came out, I was like, there are holes all like this is Swiss cheese. Okay. There is holes all up in this shit. And people on the internet were like, we owe Blake Lively apology. I'm like, we don't know her shit. Okay. Let's get the deets and receipts and we'll go from there. Court adjourned. Okay. So lastly, when it comes to, this is like the firework finale of the 4th of July that came early. When it comes to legacy is everything we're seeing unfolding right now politically. Okay. You have Jimmy Carter, who, you know, was a US president who passed away of 100 years of age. And even that is interesting. And he had a controversial legacy because some people say that he was literally the worst, one of the worst presidents, at least in modern history, right? For economic reasons. You had, you know, the Iran hostage crisis. But it's so interesting because Trump, who once shit on Jimmy Carter, like paid his respects and his, like he literally was like, Jimmy Carter has to be so excited. Is he even dead yet? I don't know. But if he's not, he has to be so excited Joe Biden has officially dethroned him as the worst president in modern history, right? But when Jimmy Carter ultimately died, Trump, you know, paid respects and all this. But you know, I thought how interesting because a lot of the criticism of Jimmy Carter is that he would grift or chase clout. And again, it's that idea of like, what do you really stand for? You know, meanwhile, right now, I am shocked as one would ever be of Justin Trudeau stepping down and resigning as the Canadian Prime Minister after like 9 years in power. You know, his father was in power. This has never happened in Canadian history. So it's really wild to see. Like, I thought that this guy was pulling a Kamala Harris, like white knuckling, could not get it out of his kung fu grip, that power. And who knows if there's more to the story. People are speculating, like, did he do something that's going to come out? Right now, what I'm seeing is that people, the general public, were just really displeased and unhappy with how he was doing. Like, the economy's a mess. There's all kinds of issues. And they basically just wanted to boot him out. Like, you're fired, you're out. The housewives are flipping their table on your head. It's also interesting too, because, and let's not forget that Justin Trudeau was like such a little Gavin Newsom-esque weasel during COVID. But it's interesting now to see, like, Joe Biden is the thing that, talk about legacy, right? Like, somebody who literally, this is what happens again when you don't believe in anything. Literally, you have no identity or don't believe in anything, and then you're like residing in the sewer, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris. So even though he's technically still our sitting president, he's literally nowhere to be seen. And for all intents and purposes, before even being sworn in, Trump is our president. And how interesting how all of these people are coming to kiss the ring of Trump, despite how they felt in the past, despite even if they really like him deep down. You know, I'm talking Zelensky, who thinks that Trump actually has a shot because of his assertiveness of ending this war between Ukraine and Russia with Putin, right? Or even Trudeau, you know, who was cozying up to Trump before all this. You know, there's all kinds of talk about like restrictive tariffs on Canada. Who knows if he wanted to cozy, whatever it is, right? But despite all, even the tech lords, I'm talking everybody from, you know, the Zucks to, you know, allegedly Bill Gates going to Mar-a-Lago, like all of these people who have claimed to hate Trump in the past, and maybe they still do, right? Again, going to move and shake with him. And like I said, kiss the ring. And what that says to me about legacy, the thing that is so, I think, striking is that Trump, you know, is of course such a polarizing figure, but no one can deny, even his biggest haters and these intellectuals and thinkers and writers who hate him, they're coming out with all of these op-eds basically acknowledging how much power that he's had and that he's yielding, as opposed to like the juxtaposition of Joe Biden, right? And, you know, he's now had, as they all acknowledge, the biggest political comeback in American history. And I thought about it, even though he left DC, defamed and embarrassed and, arrested and mugshot and indicted and persecuted and all this. Like, he came back in flying colors, right? And what sets that apart from somebody like a Joe Biden, a Trudeau, all of these other people? I think it's that Trump really was just brazen and honestly didn't give a fuck. He was just always like, America first, stayed on his message and did not waver. And ultimately, everybody came into his orbit, like a Thanos moment, but like in reverse. You know what I mean? Like, everybody just came into his orbit and wanted to be a part of that. And when you think about it, at the end of the day, people will do all kinds of things for legacy, as we've seen here. They'll be shameless. They'll be opportunistic. They'll want power. They'll be self-serving. But the ones that really last are the ones who really believe in something and believe in that power. And that's why maybe Trump, he's just another version of the Hooters girl. They're not that different.